Yeah, we are live now.
All right, thank you, Zach. Good morning. Thank you all for taking time out to join in the Education and Public Programs Committee meeting this morning. I have a few agenda items. Our meeting today, because our attendance lacking a quorum in person, this will be more of a just informational meeting today. But I still wanted to provide some highlights of the last quarter. So I'll run through that. I do have some images to share with you just because I think having those visuals are a little more appealing than just listening to me talk about what we've been doing. So I am going to share screen. And this is the presentation basically follows the agenda that was attached to the email and also part of the board packet. All right. So, and you should be seeing the main screen. And so I just wanted to run through some highlights this morning. So our meeting today is actually covering the events from January through March. So even though that's our focus, I'm still going to mention some of the things that we've been working on recently and also upcoming, just to kind of encompass more recent events, because it's really hard to kind of just talk about what we did you know, back in January and not touch on what we're doing now. And hopefully this is advancing and you're seeing the agenda now. Awesome. Just like to make sure. So this is literally just our agenda that we were going to cover today. A lot of things. And like I said, I am just going to kind of highlight these things today informally. I always like to provide our quarterly numbers. And so with our January, February, March, so our quarterly numbers, I compared our 2023 January through March to the past couple of years. Just for some comparison, there's a clear shift. If you look at the distance learning column, you can see back in 21, of course, that was, you know, pandemic, and we were fully virtually. We had some at the museum programming. Those were basically tables that we would have out, you know, just very small things. But our distance learning were really prevalent in 21, 22, still continuing our virtual presence, but you can see that the outreach and at the museum, here at the museum really started increasing. And then of course, 23, they've kind of exploded, and our distance learning is it's still an option, even though we did not have any programs during that time frame. I will say that since March, we have had virtual connections, but they are fewer in numbers than the past years. Just simply, the teacher requests are really heavy outreach, us going to the schools, doing the programs, or various other sites, you know, after school groups and things like that. And then our field trips, our at the museum programs, which consists of things like our homeschool programming, our toddler programs, but also our visiting school groups. Those have definitely increased. And so January through March, you can kind of see those numbers are looking really great, increasing from last year. And, past March, looking at the numbers already, it's, exceeding, that quarter, the, January through March quarter. So yeah, so we're happy with our programming numbers and, requests. Right now, being the end of the school year, we're getting a lot of last minute requests and of, hey, can you either come to the school and do this, or hey, can we come to the museum? So we're trying to work with those last minute as best as we can to work in some things that weren't already on the calendar. So that's where we are as far as our numbers. And we always do a year-end report, fiscal year-end report. So at our next meeting, I will be able to share our year-to-date program numbers. So just some highlights of things that happened during that quarter with our At the Museum programs. So we break our programs down into those that happen here on site at the museum, and then our outreach. So at the museum events, we had our Bug Festival. So at our festivals, the education department works with basically the entire other staff to provide activities for the public coming in. So we'll have various crafts, hands-on activities, games, things like that for our festivals. So Bug Fest fell into that quarter. And then we also, and this is a more recent image, but I wanted to include it because we just this week wrapped up with our Homeschool Science and Engineering Academy. And that program is in its 12th year of operation here at the museum. And so we were able to even keep it going during COVID completely virtually. But our Homeschool Science and Engineering Academy, we have the public register. It is a registration-based, fee-based program. So it brings in quite a revenue stream for us in education. But we meet twice a month, and we have 3 age groups that participate. So we have the 3 classrooms downstairs, so it's very convenient for the families that have the multiple age span of children. So we meet all together. So we just wrapped up with that this week, and so we did a end of the year kind of certificate awards, and we even highlight those students that did not miss any sessions or missed one. So these are just a handful of the students that we have. This is actually not the full group. We usually have about 60 students. Each age group, we cap it at about 20. Sometimes that goes over. But so that was some of our students. So we had a great time. Right now, what we're doing is looking back on the evaluations, the parent feedback. Every program that we do, whether it's at the museum or outreach, we evaluate so that we can then reflect on how the programs are going. Are there things that we need to tweak? Are there things that we need to include? And so, for example, with the Homeschool Academy, we ask the parents not only to provide feedback for each session, but also topics that they would be interested in us covering, of course, if we have the means available to do this. So what we're doing right now is gathering all of that data and then looking at the schedule for basically the fall for the 2023-2024 school year. And so then we will have that schedule of programming probably by July. because in August we run an open house for our homeschool academy, so that they can come in, learn about the curriculum for the school year. If there's new families, just learn more about the program. And we do a lot of fun raffles, so they can put in for raffle tickets for a free family membership, or free sessions of the programming. So it's kind of an incentive to get the families out, seeing what we're doing, being able to talk with them, and then go ahead and enroll their children in the programming at that point. Our registration is online, which is very convenient for families. So that's a great thing that we have not always had. So, sure. But also some other highlights. We've had several sleepovers. January through March, we had some Boy Scouts as well as Girl Scouts. And so with the sleepovers, we work with the troop or the pack on meeting some of their requirements for their badges or patches, so that they're able to then go to their council and acquire those patches or badges. They spend the night here at the museum. They sleep under the dinosaurs. You know, how cool is that? They do receive a museum sleepover patch so that they can include that with all of their other patches that they have on their uniforms. So that was a lot of fun. So I know in the last couple of board meetings, I was highlighting the upcoming renewable energy showcase. And so we had that last quarter. This was a partnership with JMU's Center for Advancement of Sustainable Energy, or their CASE program. And so it's essentially the students in various school districts work at their schools on renewable energy projects. So it was either solar panels, a solar project, or a wind project, creating wind turbines. So we had the showcase, we had elementary all the way through high school. And so I did include, let's see, here's our elementary students working on their wind turbine. And so it's completely student driven. They create this at their school. They come up with their design. They also have to do their measurements of looking at not only the speed that they're wanting, the drag that's created, all of these elements that would go into their wind turbine actually working. And so we set up this huge wind tunnel, which is essentially like 4 fans that work together. This metal casing around it actually has like a plastic barrier. It's kind of hard to see, but that kind of focuses that wind. And so there we go. Cool. It is. And so that the video is showing the high school students. So was a little more advanced level. As you can see, there's were lightweight balsa wood and some lighter weight wood that they used, whereas the elementary school students, they used PVC and more plastics for their design. But they were actually graded on their projects and the energy output. So the neat thing is it's kind of hidden over here in the corner, but their wind turbines were hooked up to a laptop program so that you could actually see the energy output that their wind turbines were creating. So then what we did, we had judges that the students had to present in front of. And so we awarded quite a few awards from first through third place, judges pick. And so those that receive the awards move on to the state. And so we actually had local students from the Martinsville City School District move on to state. And then from that, they went on to finals. So it was really awesome to see the students' hard work and see the outcome of that. So that was a lot of fun. We are continuing that project, working with JMU this summer on some things, and then to roll out this showcase again next year with a little more involvement with solar also. We only had about 2 teams that did solar projects. So what we were saying is kind of work towards having more emphasis on that as well as the wind energy. That was a lot of fun. Oh, there's some. And so then a lot of our programming consists of our outreach, where we're going into the school districts. And so the teachers have a variety of programs to pick from. They're all the SOL based, correlated to the grade level. And this is Rex, our bearded dragon. And so you can see the kids see their faces. They absolutely love the live animal programs that we offer. And so they were able to take a moment, feed Rex, which of course then he loves that. But they love that interaction, but being able to talk about everything from animal adaptations, classification, but also just the science that we have here at the museum, tying that back to what we do here at the museum. They love that. And it might be more of a, this one over here is focusing on light energy. So we have a whole range of natural history topics, but also STEM topics as well that the teachers can choose from. So our outreach programs were pretty prevalent January through March. February, I think it felt like we were in the schools.
Yeah, the numbers were really big.
February was kind of booming.
The month with the least amount of days in it, you get the most.
Exactly. A program that we have continued partnering, a partnership for years, is a after-school program with local Martinsville Henry County After 3 initiative. And so it's middle school and high school after-school programming. And so we have about 6 sites that we work with throughout Martinsville and Henry County. And we basically have programming each semester. So we'll have fall programming at each site and then spring. And so working with the students, the last one was a STEAM focus. So it was the STEM and then including art aspect as well. And so we really look for those activities that engage the student with some fun team building, because it's after the school hours. And so we still have that educational aspect, the instructional aspect, but also something fun. They've been in the classroom all day, so it's like tying in some fun things. And then of course we throw in competition aspect as well. So a lot of our projects, like the one on the right, was a timed session to see if they could figure out how to write a word without touching the marker within a time limit. So they were given some materials and they had to come up with on their own how they could write that word without touching the marker within a given time frame. So it's a lot of fun. They get very competitive, which sometimes is,
Sure.
okay, it's all good, y'all. But but a lot of fun. And so we're actually right now working on the summer schedule. So I'm working with their director on, they provide their summer programming, basically the entire summer. So working with them on our basically summer camps
Right.
for the after school program. So that's kind of a year-long partnership with this group. I wanted to mention as far as our upcoming things on the agenda, we have our summer camps that we will host here at the museum. So we have 4 summer camps. We have 2 for the age 6 to 8 range, and then 2 for the 9 to 11 range. And so they are week long, and they are full day camps. They run from 9 o'clock to 4. We even offer before and after care, so that, you know, it's for parents' schedule, just convenience for them. So we're very excited. Our summer camp registration is going great. I think we have 2 that are, or 1 at capacity already. 2 at capacity already. So we're very excited. We upped our max number this year. We kept our numbers low last year, just getting back into the swing of summer camps. So this year we upped it. So each camp, we will have 16 children per camp. So it's still a small number, so that we have staff, and then we also utilize our youth volunteers. We have youth volunteers that come in and help us throughout the whole week. So very excited for that. I've been talking about our microscope lab, and so I wanted to provide an update because this school year we have definitely been able to utilize the microscope lab just since January. We opened it in December, and so with the microscope lab, we have already worked with 42 classes, serving over 800 students just in this short time frame. And so it's been a lot of fun being able to work with the teachers to create some new lesson plans basically for our microscope lab on things that they're focusing on. So everything from food chains to the rock cycle. And so working with them on what they would like to highlight. Some of the students have never used microscopes before. And so since this is through a IMLS grant, we're keeping up with a lot of data so that we can do our final report. And so what I do is we have basically a survey that we conduct at the beginning of the class of how many students have used a scope before, what is their comfort level. And then once we have the training and complete the lesson plan, we have basically a post-program survey that we ask the students, so then we can kind of compare that data. And so we have had a lot of school groups, and it's not just the school groups. Our curators are also using the lab with scientific research. They have interns working on projects. And so what we'll do at the end of the year is compile all of that data so that it is museum inclusive for everyone that has used the scopes. So looking forward to really creating some more programming for the new school year with the microscope lab.
They look a lot easier to use than the ones I remember in school.
These are very user-friendly.
Yeah.
These are stereoscopes. And so there's not a lot of, you know, it's not as high magnification as a compound scope. Sure. But for what we're doing, it's great magnification for that entry level.
Yeah.
So that it's not too confusing to the students, so that they just kind of like, I can't see it, you know, and give up. So they've really enjoyed it. And of course, the kids really like the aspect that you can download an app on your phone for these. It connects Wi-Fi ability. The students can take photos of things that they've been viewing, on their phone. So they like that technology aspect with these also. So I work with our deputy director to secure grants so that we can provide scholarships for our groups requesting programs. Our programs are fee-based. So when we have our outreach programs or on-site at the museum programs, if we are able to secure our grant funds, we can then offer the teachers that scholarship coverage so that the programs are at no cost of them. And in our area, that is a huge impact. We have a lot of schools locally and surrounding counties that just do not have the funds available. So to be able to have those scholarship funds and then offer that to the teachers, they greatly appreciate it. And so we wrapped up several this school year, and then we have resubmitted 2 of our partnering grants. So on the agenda, you'll notice that the Boxley grant has been resubmitted. We're waiting to hear word of that. That would be $10,000 total. And then we've also resubmitted a Monogram Loves Kids Foundation grant for the next school year. So still waiting to hear those. We reapplied for Edgar Thurman Charitable Foundation grant. That's going to be a continuation of their partnership again. So we've already received word of that one. And so we'll roll out some scholarships next school year for that. So hopefully we'll have a nice funding source for the grants to offer that. And then they can choose whether it is an outreach at the museum visit or even virtual program. We're still offering that as an option if they would like to take advantage of that. And these are available not only for our Martinsville surrounding county schools. We have our educators that are in the Charlottesville area and Eastern Shore. We can also work with those to provide some of those scholarship funds for programming. We just during that January through March timeframe, we had some programming in Waynesboro that one of our Charlottesville educators was able to conduct some owl pellet dissection programs through scholarships. We have some new exhibits, and so part of our Education and Public Programs Committee, we do have an exhibit subcommittee, and so I wanted to just touch base on a few things. Our Dino Discoveries exhibit is now open. So it opened back in February. Wonderful exhibit. This is a traveling exhibit from American Museum of Natural History. So a lot of great components. The visiting school groups have really enjoyed exploring in there. A lot of course, the dinosaurs are always a big draw, but this exhibit really looks at the technology that scientists are now able to look at and look at that information of fossil history and look at advancements, looking at how the skeletal structure allowed for running. Was the T-Rex as fast as they thought it was? Looking at the long neck dinosaurs were they able to reach high up like a giraffe, or was it more of a straight out extension, which is what they are believing, and using all sorts of technology to kind of help come up with the new information. We have recently added Our solar panels on the building, which, and I know we've talked in board meetings about this, but we have created a display in our lobby area. So right as soon as you come through our front doors, we have one of the extra solar panels viewable to the public. And then you'll notice the screen above with the data. And so this constantly updates so that we're able to see how that is changing, and that way the public can kind of see what we're doing with our solar project. And if I'm not mistaken, we're going to have some more text panels that'll be added to this.
It's been added.
Oh, awesome. So just since I took that
That's
picture. So great. So next time, stop by and check that out. It's really fascinating to watch the graph and look at the data output for that. With our temporary exhibit room, our next exhibit is called Masters of the Night. It is going to focus on bats. And so that is not slated to open until February of 2024. But it is a very hands-on exhibit. This is also a rental exhibit from Evergreen Exhibitions. And so it has a lot of great components of, you're able to immerse yourself. And so like the image is, how do those larger ears help your hearing, and various things. And we'll supplement the exhibit with some of our collections material and some activities as well. But yeah, so of course, also I did not put a slide in here. I can stop sharing now, but actually that we do have Dino Fest coming up in July. Have to mention that. So looking forward to that. That's a 2-day festival, July 21st and 22nd. And so, of course, this is a all hands on deck at the museum participation. The education committee, what we're doing right now, looking at those activities, games, all of those fun things that we want to provide for the public, and just getting prepared for that.
Sure have it on my calendar.
I know. Well, it's sneaking up quickly. I think this year is just flying by. But those were just a few things that I kind of wanted to carry everybody through for that quarter. And just a few highlights of things that we have coming up. I did want to mention also, we have some professional development opportunities for our education staff. So in the fall, there is a VAST conference, which is the Virginia Association of Science Teachers. So Terry Robertson and Jordan Brim, our two educators here on the Martinsville site, will be attending that conference. So they're very excited about that. Terry went to VAST 2 years ago. Jordan is just now completing her first year here at VMNH, so she's excited that she has the opportunity to do that. So yeah.
Nice.
Yes.
I feel like it's on there every year. We send somebody, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We definitely try to have someone on, whether it's just in attendance or presenting.
Right.
We've presented at the conference in the past. This year they are just in attendance though. But great. But those are just a few of the highlights that I wanted to showcase for our meeting this morning. Let me move this. I'll stop sharing. Quit moving. But I did want to touch base, Nathan, as far as for the full board meeting. Are there any things that you want to highlight, mention, or if you have any questions of things to elaborate on for the full board meeting?
The only thing that really comes to mind is, I don't remember if this comes up at the board meetings frequently, is just, I think it's useful for the board to know that there's this sort of ongoing, scholarship grant program.
Yes.
You know, the museum continues, it's for like continuing the good work we've already been doing. It's working already. We're gonna keep going after that money to be able to help the scholarship programs. I mean, I think the microscope stuff is interesting too, and I think that's, and really any of this stuff is fine, but I definitely want to make sure, I feel like maybe we don't mention that enough, or at least it's a good reminder.
Yes, yes, that sounds good. Wonderful.
The other thing I was wondering, I haven't looked recently, but do we have an updated list of committee assignments? Who's on? I feel like I don't fully know who is actually on the committee.
I think at this point, there's some appointments that need to be made.
Okay.
And so I think that list is going to be changing
I believe that's
maybe after this meeting.
Okay.
So I think that's definitely worth a mention of just, in general of, and I'm sure that committee members, board members will, receive that list once it is, updated.
Okay. I might just briefly mention it to Joe when I see him
Yes.
before the meeting. Okay.
Yeah, because it, correct me if I'm wrong, Zach, but I think there's some appointments.
I believe this meeting coming up, yes.
Cool. Excellent. Well, I mean, I see who was at the one last meeting. So
Yeah. Yes. Well, I think that was really, just some quick highlights. And then, of course, even throughout the year, if anyone, has any questions or just needs information, please don't hesitate to reach out. And, ask away.
Cool.
But great. Well, Lauren, thank you for
That's your
joining
fun,
us
so.
virtually for the committee meeting. I greatly appreciate you joining in. We're going to end this meeting so that we can get ready for the full board. I thank you.
So, we were talking a little bit about attendance last night at the executive committee meeting, getting board members excited to come to the meetings. And